Hey guys, this is Joel with Punisher's Paintball, and today we are going to be doing a Punisher's gun review on the Empire Mini GS. This is probably one of the most popular entry-level speedball guns or electronic guns out on the market. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be bringing you more content with more gun reviews, shooting videos, etc. Thank you. Guys, so if you purchase the Empire Mini GS, it comes in this very nice box here, and we're going to open it up here and see what all comes with the brand new Empire Mini GS. So first things first, it does come with a paper manual. Some gun companies are completely going away from paper and they're going straight to sending you a flash drive with your brand new marker. I like that Empire is still giving you a paper model. There are quite a few things on this. There is no breakdowns like where the O-rings are placed or anything like that, but some basic stuff that will come that basically will help you set up your gun to get you out and get you playing. So you know, things that are on this: barrel installation, switching your Mini GS on, switching it off, turning it on and off. It recommends for compressed air, absolutely no CO2 with this gun, turning on your gun, loading it up, etc. Firing the Mini GS, regular adjustments, and adjusting the velocity, which we'll go over here in a minute. So not super involved or super intricate when it comes to laying everything out for you. As far as one thing that I thought was interesting was that it doesn't teach you how to program your firing mode. If you're a player that doesn't want to start from semi-auto, you want to go straight to a ramping mode, or say you just want to have fun with it and you want to turn it all the way up, unfortunately it doesn't do that. So definitely some stuff that's left to be desired when it comes to what all comes with the manual. Just a little styrofoam for extra protection when you pull out your gun. Here is the actual Empire Mini GS. And then if you pull the styrofoam off, what all else comes with it? So it comes with a Empire barrel cover. It comes with a relatively nice one-piece barrel system. I believe this is a 14-inch barrel. And the reason why I say it's relatively nice is because the level of porting on this is pretty significant. So why is porting important? Porting is important because it allows the air to escape. So if you're ever to tape up all these holes and basically just allow air to escape from the tip of the barrel, it would be much louder. This basically lets the air escape as the ball's traveling down the barrel and lets it escape, so it makes for a much quieter shot. This is not a bad one-piece barrel that comes factory with the Empire Mini GS. And then lastly, it does come with a parts kit. A couple Allen keys in there, lube, probably about an ounce worth of Dow 33, a couple springs as well, detent springs as well as extra detents. That's a very common wear issue. Some O-rings that fit on things such as the bolt guide, the bolt itself, and then extra screws, which is really nice. There's not many companies out there that send you extra screws. Most it's just O-rings and stuff like that. So this is a really nice parts kit. It does leave a few things to be desired, in my personal opinion. Part of it is that none of these O-rings are sized. It does come with an extra poppet top, but it does not actually have the poppet valve, which is a very common thing that goes on these markers over a period of time. But for the price point, not a bad parts kit. So we are going to put the barrel on the gun and kind of go over everything about the gun. So first off, I talked about the barrel system already. So other guns within this price point, you're looking at things or guns such as the Dye CZR, as well as the Planet Eclipse Etha 2. For a price point of $329.95, this gun comes in the middle of the package. The Dye CZR comes at $299.99, and the Planet Eclipse Etha 2 just increased their pricing to $429.95 due to tariffs and such like that. So one thing that I would like to mention with the Empire Mini GS, first off, is that it is really close together. So it's good for small hands. We sell a lot of these in the store to younger kids that are just getting into speedball, and it fits their hands perfectly. The Mini GS has the rubber foregrip, whereas the earlier models, such as the Invert Mini, just had a metal forefront, so it feels better in the hands. It's full aluminum construction, which is really nice. It comes with a very nice trigger straight from the factory. You don't have to worry about that. And overall, it's not necessarily a light gun, but it feels very solid in the hands. It doesn't feel like you're gonna break it. Some other guns within this price range, both the Planet Eclipse Etha 2 and the CZR, the trigger frame is plastic composite as compared to all aluminum construction. With this one being in the middle of the road, more towards the price point of the CZR as compared to the Etha 2, something definitely to consider. The feed neck on it is nice. It's a locking feed neck. So you have an Allen piece over here. The locking portion is here. It's also low rise too, so it's not gonna stand up very far from the and it's gonna allow you to have a relatively low profile on your with your hopper. That's a concern with a lot of paintball players. If they're coming out and they're trying to snap shoot, you don't want your loader very high, because if your loader is very high, it allows for a higher profile. Say a paintball is traveling right here. If it's a lower profile, that paintball is going to miss you completely, as compared to if you come out and that profile is higher, you might get clipped on the top of your loader. And it's just the small things that make a big difference here. So the Empire Mini GS is by far probably one of the most popular mid-range entry-level speedball guns, due to the fact that it's reliable. It's a very, very reliable platform. There are a few things that go wrong that we'll talk about here in a few minutes, and we're gonna do some general maintenance. We're gonna take it apart to show you. But overall, it feels good in the hands. We're gonna weigh it, etc. Alright guys, so here we are with the Empire Mini GS. We're gonna do some general maintenance on it, things that you're gonna come across at your local paintball field that you might need some to do, or also just when you get home, some general things as far as cleaning it. So first things first, one thing that's very nice about the Empire Mini GS is that it's very simple to remove your ball detent system. So the ball detent system is very simple platform. There's basically a spring as well as a plastic port piece right there. All that does is you put your spring in there and then the plastic portion, and it is threaded. So it makes it very, very simple to take that apart if you ever need to replace it. The parts kit that comes with the gun comes with two extra springs, as well as two detents. So very simple there. The other thing about the Empire Mini GS is it's relatively simple to access your bolt system. So how do you access the bolt system? There is an Allen key underneath the gun right here, and that goes up and holds the bolt into place. It does not have a quick release system such as some of these other guns, but that is part of what you're paying for at a higher price point with these guns. So the bolt system on these guns is very simple, and I'll show you here in a minute. Okay, there's a little bit of blue Loctite in there to hold it into place with vibration, as you can see. So that screw, the extra portion right there, is what holds that bolt into place. Once that screw is out, very simple to just pull this out. If you have trouble pulling it out, which this one looks like it is, unscrew your barrel, set your barrel aside, take your finger and just kind of push it out. So this is the entire bolt system. There is a spring. This spring pops into place and sits there, and then you can just pull it off, set it aside. Not much to do with the spring. It does have some lube on it straight from the factory. As you can see, there's a decent amount of Dow 33 on there. there is 2 O-rings, but on the bolt itself that are that can be replaced if there's any issues. Your bolt guide here has 1, 2, 3 of the same size O-rings, and then an extra O-ring right here serves as a bumper for recoil as the bolt travels back. There is a rubber portion here to absorb the impact of the paintballs as they're shooting out. And then basically that's it. As far as maintenance goes, take a microfiber, clean that off. That goes within the bolt itself, and clean off your bolt and re-lube the Dow 33. That's basically it. Now, if you're having any issues, very common issue that we've had with the Empire Mini GS is that the poppet valve over a period of time tends to get worn. So as you can see, your velocity adjustment's right here. And if you back this out the entire way, this will actually come out and give you access to your poppet. So, all right, set that aside here. There's really nothing to do there. There's no O-rings. There is one O-ring right here. That'd be pretty obvious if it's leaking out of your back cap. Okay, now there's a little spring as well as your actual poppet. You can either use needle nose pliers or just use an Allen key to get that pushed out of place there. Okay, so here's your poppet, and basically all you have to do is, if there's any leaking going down your bolt system, which is a very common issue, if it's leaking relatively significant, this plastic over a period of thousands and thousands of shots gets worn, and this actually seals right here. So this sits here, and as you can see, the entire design is this goes in, this goes in. So the further that you turn in your velocity, the less air is going to escape every time that the gun shoots, and allows air to go through the valve basically. So what can you do with this? If you can, it's very difficult to get this plastic portion off. I recommend usually, if there's any issues, to just replace this entire system. The entire system is, I believe, less than $10. Pretty simple replacement system. If you can't get it off, there is an extra one in your part system. It is threaded, so theoretically you should be able to get it off. I've tried to repair a few of these at the store and never been able to get off that plastic top. So, and then basically that is probably the most common issue that goes with these guns. As you can see, it's just a little piece of hard plastic. So with a lot of thousands and thousands of shots, you can imagine that this gun will get worn. Pop that back into place, and screw that back in. And that's really it when it comes to maintenance. I would recommend, unless there's some indication that you need to clean this poppet and everything else like that, you don't necessarily need to take this out every single time that you're maintaining your bolt system. Maintaining the bolt system, what I would recommend is just simply clean off the bolt guide, Dow 33, as well as the bolt, and boom, you are done with the bolt maintenance on the Empire Mini GS. So that slides back into place. Oh, we forgot the bolt system. That's always important. As you can see, we lost our bolts still in there. Okay, don't want to forget your spring. All right, and then the spring just pops onto the actual bolt, and all this goes back into place. Piece of cake. Okay, and this Allen key screws back in. Okay, now the only thing that I would say with the bolt system is that that screw right there is relatively difficult to access. So, you know, if you compare it to some of these other guns in the same price range, the other guns definitely do make it easier to maintain. The other thing with the Empire Mini GS is sometimes the solenoid magnet gets needs to be reset, so we're going to go over that, and then we're basically going to take the grip frame off, show you what we're talking about. The Empire Mini GS also takes a 9-volt battery located in the front grip here, so you can use your smaller Allen key that's actually provided within the parts kit. Take this off to replace your 9-volt battery. Okay. Now, could you get in there and replace it without taking off the other side? Yes, technically. Now, will that bend the rubber over time? Yeah, probably. So, proper way to do it would be to take off both sides so you don't ruin your rubber. And takes a 9-volt battery, pop it back into place. As you can see, the board is right there if you ever need to access your board. It is just an LED board. Does not have an OLED display to help you with all the programming and such, which we'll go over here in a minute. And that's about it when it comes to changing out your battery. So not too difficult there. Put these back into place. One thing that I like to mention is that to change your battery as compared to Ether 2 makes it much more simple. There's just a pop system, 2 buttons to access your 2 AA's within the Ether 2. CZR also takes a 9-volt battery. You're gonna need Allen keys to replace that battery system. Parts on this gun. Parts on this gun are relatively cheap, so that's a nice part. We're gonna show you what the other common issue that we come across when it comes to the Empire Mini GS, which is the solenoid over a period of time needs to be reset or just overall needs to be replaced. So how do you do that? Okay guys, so to get the body off the trigger frame, the last thing that we're gonna have to do here is there is a Allen screw in the front of the grip frame, and we're gonna loosen that here and take that out, and that's gonna allow us access to take the trigger frame off to the body so we can get better access to the solenoid. Okay. All right guys, so here we are with the Mini GS, and we're going to take the body off the trigger frame so that we can get better access to the solenoid. So we've removed the back screw, the middle screw, as well as there's an Allen screw in the front here that needs to be removed. So to get access to the body, you're going to have to also take off these 2 and these 2 on here, totaling 4. So in all 7 Allen keys to get the body off of the trigger frame, pull it directly off. All right, and here we are. So there's a micro switch to trigger pulls, to sense trigger pulls. And another thing that I like to mention is be very careful when you are putting the body back to the trigger frame. There are 8 pins located on the board, the LED board for the gun, that need to be transmitted over to the receiving end here. And if you bend one of those pins, you're out of luck. You're gonna have to replace your board. So here's your solenoid. Solenoid is very simple to maintain. And basically what will happen is if you ever try to air up your Mini GS and you have a massive leak, that means that the solenoid is not sealing and it's letting all the air from the transfer tube, which there's another transfer tube here, and basically these 2 come together, but it's allowing air to completely travel through the gun. So if it's leaking extravagantly through the gun, that's basically that your solenoid needs to be either a reset or replace. So this solenoid is serviceable. You can take it apart. And we're not going to go through that in this video just because it's relatively involved. But basically, this solenoid unscrews. Let's see if we can find something here to get in done. Okay, we were able to get it here. This basically unscrews. And there are 3 tiny Allen screws right there. You can take off the top and replace it. If you would rather just replace the entire solenoid, which is usually what I recommend to people within the store, these solenoids are only about $35 to $40 to replace. This, very simple to screw back in. Screw that back in like that. And that's all there is to it. So your other option is to try and reset the solenoid if you're having that issue of it leaking significantly out of the barrel, is to pull your trigger once you've got it all, the gun completely back together, is to pull the trigger. And the way that you'll know that your solenoid needs to be reset is when you're activating the micro switch, your solenoid should click. If your solenoid is not clicking, that means that the solenoid needs to be reset. So we're going to put this back together. And we'll go over some final thoughts on the gun, and we're going to do an efficiency test as well as sound comparison, etc. Alright guys, so now we have the Mini GS put back together. We're going to go over some programming here real quick. So to program the Mini GS, you're going to pull the trigger, and you're going to turn the gun on, and you're going to continue to hold the trigger. It's going to flash a few times. When you let the trigger go, you are now in programming mode. So the first thing for programming mode is the solid red is the firing mode. So there's 4 firing modes. First one is semi-auto, which is what the gun comes standard in from the factory. Number 2 is NXL ramp, 3 is Millennium ramp, and 4 is full auto if you feel to really Gatling gun this thing. So if you want to adjust the next setting, you pull the trigger. This takes you to solid green, which is the rate of fire. The gun will fire up, or you can adjust the gun all the way up to 20 balls per second. The third color is a lighter red or amber color, and that is the dwell. Really no reason to be adjusting the dwell. It comes factory at 8 milliseconds. I suggest that unless you are an advanced paintball player, that you don't try to adjust the dwell. If you pull the trigger again, there's a flashing red that is your debounce, or how much you want the trigger to react to basically bouncing, which is when you pull the trigger, how much is it resetting. So we're going to go back to that color one. So that is your flashing red, that's the debounce. Flashing green is how many milliseconds, this is called ball in place. So basically, how many milliseconds do you want the gun to not fire and let the ball in the breech settle before the gun fires? That way there's absolutely no chance of the gun chopping due to that. That next one is flashing amber. That is your ramp start. So how many trigger pulls do you want to adjust the gun before the gun kicks in the ramp if you're in the ramping firing mode? And then lastly, a very, very fast flashing is your ramp sustain. So how many trigger pulls per second do you want to have to pull to keep the gun in the ramp? So these are all things that are adjustable. We will adjust this gun in an NXL ramp to basically show you how to adjust any of these settings. So hold the trigger, it's going to flash your setting. So as you can see, it flashed one time red. So if you want to adjust it, you got to do it relatively quickly. So hold the trigger again, you see that 1, 2. That will take you, and then it's going to flash again. That's going to take you to an XL ramp. Turn the gun off to save the setting, turn the gun back on, and if you turn the eyes off, you can hear that the gun is now in ramp. We're going to turn the gun back off and take it back to semi-auto. So pull the trigger, turn the gun on, it's going to flash. Firing mode is solid red, hold that. Now it should flash twice for NXL ramp. We're going to pull the trigger once, and now the gun is back in the semi-auto. So very simple to adjust the features when it comes to that. I like the fact that the Mini GS offers you different options when it comes to firing modes, as well as the fact that you can adjust your rate of fire all the way up to 20 balls a second, especially for rec ballers that don't really have a rate of fire or a rate of fire maintenance that you have to have, such as if you're playing a tournament. So very, very nice feature. Alright guys, so those are the two common things that go wrong with the Empire Mini GS, between the solenoid being reset or just needing to be replaced, as well as the poppet. Relatively inexpensive to replace either of those things. Past that, you're not going to come across many common issues with this gun. A few other things to mention. First off, the weight on the gun is 1 pound 15 ounces. So this gun comes in at under 2 pounds with the barrel included. That is an amazing weight for a gun at this price point for $330. You just can't go wrong for any gun under 2 pounds. Another thing too is that this gun is very close together. We had mentioned that before. It fits younger players extremely well in the hands, and we're gonna do something here to kind of measure exactly how close is this gun together. So we have a tape ruler here. From the back of the frame to the front is exactly 4 inches. So that is the furthest point here to the foregrip. So we're going to compare that to some other guns here in the future with our future gun reviews, and give you a better idea of exactly how close is this gun together. Another thing with this gun is that the regulator is very robust. I've never seen Empire Mini GS with a bad regulator. It's very simple to take this regulator apart. There's 2 screws on the bottom of the trigger frame. This regulator can come off. This front portion here unscrews and reveals your piston as well as your spring and all that stuff. But for the most part, it's not going to be something that you're going to have to worry about on a regular basis. The regulator is adjusted between 180 psi to 200 psi. Don't ever take your Empire Mini GS over 200 psi. It overloads the solenoid and causes the solenoid to leak, and can permanently damage your solenoid. So the other thing that's kind of cool about this gun is that you can adjust, you can kind of tune it, because you have 2 different points of pressure. Your first point of pressure here is the regulator, and there's a screw right here, or an Allen screw right there, that you can adjust and turn the pressure up and down. The other thing too is the actual velocity adjustment screw here in the back adjusts the amount of pressure on that poppet to release the air as the bolt travels forward. So if you're experienced with that, that is one thing that that you can do with these guns, which is really nice as compared to the CZR, the ETHA 2, where the shot is basically the shot, and there's not much that you can do about this. If you're a beginner player, we recommend that you just use the gun as is. These guns shoot great from the factory. There's absolutely no reason to tune it unless you're experienced and you know what you're doing. You've had a previous generation of this gun, such as the Axe or the Invert Mini or something like that, and you've adjusted that. And once again, never take the gun over 200 psi. So all that said and done, we're going to go outside, we're going to shoot this gun, we're also going to do an efficiency test and a sound comparison. Hope that you guys enjoy. Alright guys, so here we have the Empire Mini GS, and we're going to do an efficiency test. So what do we have? We have a Ninja SL2 7745. This tank is filled right to about 4,500 psi. And because this gun does not have a shot counter, the way that we're going to do this is we have a full case of paint. So as you can see, 4 unopened bags. We have a pod filler that has absolutely nothing in it. And we're going to do, we also have a chrono. So we're going to do an efficiency test here. GI 2-star. All right, So there's 1,000 paintballs right there. We're gonna put our mask on. Okay, so here we go. First shot. Oh, I was off to turn our loader on. First shot, 210. Second shot, 200. So we're gonna use the velocity adjustment screw right here in the back. $280, $281, $301, all right, and the 280s, 290s. So here we go. Make this a little bit easier and turn it into ramping mode. 1, 2, 3. That is Millennium ramping. As you can see how easy that is on the fly. Turn it off, turn back on. There we go. All right, so this is our first 1,000 paintballs. I like to mention that this gun is not chopped yet, and we're down to 1,000 PSI. So here's our next 500. Get through this, that'll be a total of 1,500. Okay, here we go. stands right now, we have about 300 to 400 psi left. There's no signs of drop off on the gun yet. All right, here's 1500 right here. This would be a total of 1500 balls. Starting to feel signs of drop off. 290, 283. All right, so it's starting to drop off a little bit. We're going to finish off this last few balls here, but for the most part on this 7745 fill, we got right around 1500 shots. So we'll do just a little top off action, probably right around 100 balls. And as you can see, that's all it is. So we're gonna call it even at 1500 shots on the Mini GS. All right, so as you can see there, we got 1,500 shots from a full 7745 fill, and you're able to see some sound comparisons between the Planet Eclipse ETHA 2, the Dye CZR, with the Empire Mini GS. Overall, we are very impressed with this gun. It is a very, very popular gun, probably the most popular out of the three guns. For an excellent price point, you get full aluminum construction. One thing that we forgot to mention before was that this trigger is a very nice trigger. Total of 3 adjustable settings on this is magnetic, so it feels extra good as far as the return. I've always been a fan of the magnetic return as compared to the spring return, and can't say enough good things about this marker for the retail point of $329.95. The pros, I would say, of this gun is the fact that it is efficient and it's reliable, and it's just a really, really good gun. As far as cons go, because we're going to be doing pros and cons at the end of every Punisher's gun review. As far as cons go, first I'd like to say that the one-piece barrel system is something that's only exclusive to the Empire Mini GS as compared to the Dye CZR, as well as the Planet Eclipse ETHA 2, which both feature a two-piece barrel system. So that's one thing. The other thing, too, that I would like to point out is that the case that comes with the Empire Mini GS is not really a case, it's just a box. So if you purchase like the Planet Eclipse ETHA 2 or the Dye CZR, you actually get a case that you can throw in your gear bag to protect your gun. If you're trying to protect the Empire Mini GS, there's not much that you can do with this cardboard box. Over time, I'm sure that this would get worn, get paint, water, etc. on it, and just tear it apart. Now, with that said, you could definitely buy an aftermarket marker case, such as the HK Army EXO marker case, or the Exalt marker case, both the carbon series or just the marker bag. The marker bag is about $26.95 and $39.95 for the Exalt marker case. Same price point for the HK case. Now, you also got to consider, though, that's an extra $40 that you're spending to protect this gun. So I would say, Empire could have at least included a case with this gun. But in return, what you get is full aluminum construction as compared to plastic composite with the Planet Eclipse ETHA 2 and the Dye CZR. The only other con is more of a personal thing for me, as well as I've heard with a lot of other players say kind of the same thing with Empire Mini GS, which is how close the foregrip is to the trigger frame. With only a 4-inch gap between the front of the foregrip as compared to the back of the trigger frame, is a really close together gun. If you're a younger player or a smaller player, it might not bother you, or You know, certain people like that close together feel. That's a more of an old school feel, whereas guns nowadays are more extended apart. The Planet Eclipse Ether 2, the DCZR are both more extended, better ergonomics in the hands. But overall, those are minor things. This gun is everything that you could ask for $329.95. It's efficient. It's easy on paint, on brittle paint. It's easy to maintain. It's full aluminum construction, and we are just really impressed with this marker. So head over to punisherspb.com if you're interested in purchasing one of these guns. We also take trade-ins and everything else like that. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we're going to be bringing you more Punisher's gun reviews on popular guns such as the Planet Eclipse Ether 2, the Shocker XLS, the Planet Eclipse 170R, CS2 and CS2 Pro, etc. So thank you guys so much. I hope that everyone stays safe during this current time of the coronavirus. I know that people are going to watch this well into the future, but for those that are watching now, stay safe, and thank you so much from the Punisher crew.